Hi class, this is Mrs. Cornett. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the point slope format to write an equation of a line, specifically to write parallel and perpendicular lines and horizontal and vertical lines, and this goes along with section 4.4 in your textbook. First of all, I need you to know the point slope format. I want you actually to memorize this. It is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Your y1 and x1 comes from any ordered pair on the line, and then your slope also comes from that same line. We're going to use this format to write equations of a line. Okay, the instructions here say use the point slope form to write an equation of a line, and it says write the equation in slope-intercept form, which we've already done a lot with that so far. Remember, slope-intercept form is in the order y equals mx plus b, but we're going to use the format y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. That's where we're going to start, but the end product needs to be in slope-intercept form. Okay, question number 1, we have a slope of negative 1/3, and here's an ordered pair, negative 1, 2. Remember, negative 1 is your x value, 2 is your y value. So if we substitute in those values, it would be y minus 2 equals negative 1/3 times x minus negative 1. Now if we simplify this, first of all, let's add an opposite, so that will be x plus 1. Now if we distribute this negative 1/3, this right side would be negative 1/3 x minus 1/3, and then the left side is still y minus 2. Next, we're going to add 2 to both sides, and let's just focus on this part right here. We have negative 1/3 plus 2. Because 2 is a whole number, it has a denominator of a 1. But if we make these common denominators, this would be negative 1/3 plus 6/3. Negative 1 plus 6 would be 5/3. And so here's our final answer, is y equals negative 1/3 x plus 5/3. Okay, let's try that again with number 2. The point given is 3, 1. The slope is 3/2. This is y minus 1 equals 3/2 times x minus 3. The left side will leave y minus 1 for right now. The right side, go ahead and do the distributive property. This is 3/2 x minus, I'm going to come over here and do the math. We're going to multiply 3/2 times negative 3/1. When we're multiplying fractions, you can multiply straight across. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. 2 times 1 is 2. And so this will be minus 9/2. Next, I want you to add 1 to both sides. Let me bring this work over here to the side. Negative 9/2 plus 1/1. Find common denominators. This would be negative 9/2 plus 2/2, which is negative 7/2. And so the final equation in slope-intercept form is y equals 3/2 x, and then that negative 7/2. Okay, let me do one more on this page. We'll do number 4. We're given the ordered pair 1, 2, and the slope of negative 2, so this will be y minus 2 equals negative 2 times x minus 1. On the right side, use the distributive property to get negative 2x plus 2. Then we still have our y minus 2. Next, add 2 to both sides. And this one's great. There's no fractions involved. And so do you see that the equation would be y equals negative 2x plus 4? Okay, these problems are similar. It says use the point slope form to write an equation of a line. We'll write the equation in slope-intercept form. The only reason that these problems are different than the previous problems is because the slope is not given to you. You have to determine the slope first, and you can do this 2 ways. You can read the graph left to right and count the rise over run, or you can use the slope formula of y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Either one is fine with me, whichever one you feel comfortable with. I'm going to work at least 2 out of these 3 on this slide, and one time I'll do the slope formula and one time I'll do the rise over run. Okay, take a look at number 5. You're given the ordered pair -2, -1, and then the ordered pair 4 over 1. And so let's go ahead and I'm going to count up 2 spaces, that's my rise, and then over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. And so the slope in rise over run is 2 over 6, which go ahead and simplify that to 1/3. And then you actually can use whichever ordered pair you want to plug into the point slope formula. I'm going to use the +4, +1 because it seems to be easier since they're both positive numbers. So the point slope form would be y minus 1 equals 1/3 times x minus 4. Next, we'll use the distributive property on the right side to get 1/3 x. And then right here, let's do the math on this side. What is 1/3 times -4 over 1? Do you see if you multiply straight across, that would be -4/3. The left side is still y minus 1. Next, add 1 to both sides. Again, I'm going to come over here and do that math. -4/3 plus 1 over 1 is the same thing as if we say -4/3 plus 3 over 3. Do you see when you add those together, that's a -1/3? Okay, so this has gotten kind of messy, but we have y equals 1/3 x, because that's our slope, minus 1/3. That's the slope-intercept form for number 5. Okay, take a look at number 6. This time I am going to use the slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We could still do the same thing counting left to right, but if you don't feel comfortable doing that, using the slope formula is fine. This would be 2 minus 0 over -3 minus 2. 2 minus 0 is 2. -3 minus -2 is a -5. It'd be best just to put that negative sign out front. So the slope is -2/5. Next, you need to pick one out of those 2 ordered pairs and substitute it into the point slope form. I'm going to choose the 2, 0, again, just because it's positive and there's a 0 involved, so that makes the math a little easier. So this will be y minus 0 equals, our slope is -2/5 times x minus 2. Well, y minus 0, that part's easy. It's just y equals. Now let's just do the distributive property. This will be -2/5 x. And then when we multiply, I'm going to come over here and do that math. -2/5 times -2 over 1. -2 times -2 is +4. And then 5 times 1 is 5. And so this will be 4/5. And so our equation is y equals -2/5 x plus 4/5. Okay, next it says write an equation of a line that passes through the point that is A parallel and B perpendicular to the given line. Okay, so these are multi-step problems. These are probably the hardest that you'll see in this section. The first thing you need to do is you need to find the slope. So take a look at number 11. I am dotting in where it crosses the grid. Do you see that the slope is 1 over 1, which simplifies to the whole number 1? And so first it's asking for a line that's parallel to this line given on the grid, but it goes through the ordered pair -1, -2. So that's the ordered pair that we're going to use for the point slope, and then we're going to use the slope of 1. So this would be y minus -2 equals 1 times x minus -1. Since we have double negatives, we can add the opposite, and that is y plus 2 equals, we actually don't need that 1, so we can just say x plus 1. Now if we solve for y, we'll just subtract 2 from both sides. Y equals x minus 1. That's the equation of a line that would be parallel to the given line. Part B asks for a perpendicular line to the given line, but it also goes through this point, -1, 2. It's going to be some kind of perpendicular to the original line. The slope of the original line was +1, So the opposite reciprocal is going to be -1. And then we're going to use the same ordered pair for the point slope format. This will be y minus -2 equals -1 times x minus -1. Again, we have these double negatives, so let's add the opposite. That simplifies to y plus 2 equals -1 times x plus 1. Now on the right side, use the distributive property to get -x minus 1. Last step is subtract 2 from both sides. And the perpendicular equation is y equals -x minus 3. Okay, take a look at number 16. We're going to do the same thing, except this time we don't have a picture of it. And so the first thing we're going to do is still find the slope of this equation. The easiest way to find slope is to rewrite this in slope-intercept form by subtracting x from both sides. The slope-intercept form would be y equals -x plus 7. The coefficient of the x term, that's your slope. So this line has a slope of -1. So part A, we're going to find the equation of a line that's parallel to the given line. So because it's parallel, we know the slope has to be -1, and it needs to go through the ordered pair -3, 2. We'll plug that into the point slope format to get y minus 2 equals -1 times x minus -3. There's the double negative again, so we're going to add the opposite. So this is really -1 times x plus 3. Distribute the -1 on the right side to get -x minus 3. Last step is to add 2 to both sides. And so the parallel line to the given line is -x minus 1. Part B is asking for the equation of a line that's perpendicular to the given line. Well, what you know about perpendicular slopes is that it's the opposite reciprocal. So the opposite reciprocal to -1 will be +1. And we're going to use that same ordered pair in the point slope format. This is y minus 2 equals 1 times x minus -3. Again, add the opposite. And because we're now distributing a +1, we can drop the parentheses. We don't need to multiply that through because it's a +1. So the right side is x plus 3. The left side is y minus 2. Next, to solve for y, we'll add 2 to both sides. And the perpendicular equation of the line is y equals x plus 5. Okay, next we're going to write the equation of a line that passes through the given point. Let me give you a hint on vertical and horizontal lines. When you have to write a vertical line, the equation will always be x equals the x coordinate. A horizontal line will always be y equals the y coordinate. And I want you just to memorize that. So when you're talking about an equation that's vertical, it's going to be the variable x equals, and then whatever the value of the x coordinate. Horizontal is going to be y equals the y coordinate. If you can memorize that, it will make these kind of problems so much easier. Okay, so take a look at number 19. The equation of a vertical line is x equals -2. Number 20, the equation of a horizontal line that goes through this point is y equals 3. Number 21, the equation of the line that goes through the ordered pair -1/2, 2/3 is y equals 2/3. And the vertical line that goes through the ordered pair 1/4, 0 is the equation x equals 1/4. Okay, that was a lot of material on this video. I hope this helps you as you use the point slope formula to write equations of a line. As always, please let me know if you have any questions as you're working through your homework.